ladies and gentlemen. I profess to being a prophet by use and want. I am more interested in tomorrow than in today, and the past is just material for future guessing. The question is whether our species, we, our children, and our children's children, can adapt ourselves and conquer this new world, or whether we are going to spin down this vortex to extinction. Extinction, which has been the fate of all the mighty races of animals that have lorded over the world in the past. Our human heritage, indeed, is a devastated estate of underdeveloped or distorted possibilities. One can only guess what proportion of human beings in the past missed the slightest chance of self-development. How many possible Sir Isaac Newtons died in glorious silence? How many potential Newtons never learned to read? The supreme task before our awakening minds is the re-education of the world. Unity and sanity should chart our course. With radio, film, and in the vicinity of rapid transport for materials and specimens, all is needed to cover the whole world in schools. And in the multitude of quickened minds, this struggle has evoked a supply of men and women who have discovered that by teaching, we learn. Now, there are claptrap places about backward races and inferior peoples. These are the foolish excuses by which those who still hope to gain an advantage over their fellow creatures and camouflage their own selfish and foolishly based dreams. What will a physically and mentally emancipated race make of its collective property? It blinds the imagination. I am convinced that I can endorse the statement that there is no fear in the vast realm of experimental science where there is not a crying need for a multitude of workers to research problems for which at present mankind is lacking. The medical sciences, for example, you hear again and again, "We don't know yet." That waits to be worked out. I myself am interested in one little corner of medical research. I am currently the president of the British Diabetes Association. And what do we know of diabetes? It's just a jumble of unanswered questions, because we have not the scientific researchers and the resources available to find the answer. But if we apply those researchers and resources, our dreams may become limitless. I believe that every researcher will echo Sir Isaac Newton's saying that he is as yet merely picking up pebbles on the beach of an unfathomable ocean. Face up to your inheritance, and this ever-growing hour will be among the first fruits of your estate. And what stands in your way? Fear. When I say fear, I mean fear of life. The experiences of the past few years help us to realize that all a man has, he will give for his life. Great multitudes fear life more than they do death. Death, to many people, has presented itself as a form of escape from living. Apart from suicide and self-exposure, there is, for the most of us, after the early enterprise of healthy youth, a dread for new problems. We must force ourselves to face them rather than crave to return to the old conditions as soon as possible. Multitudes of people have their minds deliberately crippled from birth. They are told they must not read, and they must not listen. Down through the ages, there's been a long record of book burning and the persecution of victims who had no right to reply. Herr Hitler and the Nazi book burning has been only the last gesture in this black record of intolerance to hold us back from our estate. The pessimist says that disaster is upon us, and we can do nothing. Pessimism is despair. But the rational human says that great dangers are upon us, and it beholds us to consider them and measure them and acquit ourselves against them like men. Life has always been adventure and effort. Mere comfort and welfare are among the most boring things in the world. Existence is nonetheless far more interesting. Now, as I see it, the peculiar and stimulating dangers of today are very largely the outcome of human ability and energy. We have forged our own troubles. We must mourn ourselves for this, as there is no other way for it. For all the folly, blindness, and pain of our lives, we have come some way from that. And the distance we have traveled gives us some earnest of the way we yet have to go. Time is the one thing that governs our very being. Whether young or old, at the end of our days, or just starting out in life, time is a fixed quantity. Measurable and exact, it alters our days and instructs our activity with a rigid and monotonous regularity. But what if time were to become fluid? If the hands of the sundial could be altered to speed on to the next day, or revert to our yesterdays, wouldn't this have immeasurable implications on every aspect of our lives? And if time becomes transient, the concept of death must surely take on a very different flavor. Once the controlling force of time has been usurped, a whole host of philosophical questions come into play. Albert Einstein's theory of relativity suggests that if a person could safely travel at or near the speed of light, a big if, he or she would experience the alteration of time. A time traveler would arrive in the future not a day older than when they left. Getting home, going backwards in time, is a much thornier problem, but could be accomplished by harnessing theoretical particles of the space-time continuum. In my novel, The Time Machine, the future is still black and blank, a vast ignorance, lit at a few casual places by the memory of the time traveler's story. So should things cease with man? We have a choice. Man's complacent assumption of the future is too confident. We think because things have been easy for mankind for a generation or so, we are going on to perfect comfort and security in our future. The shifting sands of the hourglass are against us, and we can no longer afford to remain complacent. Even now, for all we can tell, the coming terror may be crouching for its spring, and the fall of humanity be at hand. In the case of every predominant animal the world has seen. I repeat, the hour of its complete ascendancy has been the eve of its entire overthrow. There are two kinds of minds. One, oriented in the past, regards the future as sort of a black non-existence upon which the advancing present will write events. That is the legal mind, always referring to precedents. The second kind of mind, oriented to the future, is constructive, creative, and organizing. It sees the world as one great workshop, and the present is no more than material for the future, for the thing that is yet destined to be. Finally, what might be accomplished if the future-oriented mind were given freedom to express itself? All the world is heavy with the promise of greater things to come. And a day will come one day, in the unending succession of days, when beings now latent in our thoughts and hidden in our loins shall stand upon this vast ocean earth, and shall laugh and reach their hands out among the stars. Or will the mind reach the end of its tether, and the pessimist will win and say, I told you so, and damn you all to hell. Mankind must make a choice.